And detectives say his cell phone was recorded at least 12 times near the off-campus home between the months of June and November. Kohberger was a PhD student at Washington State University in the
Welcome back to the channel, everybody, where we cover murder, mystery to the paranormal. So going back to Sunday, November 13th, the alleged killer, Bryan Kohberger, according to the probable cause affidavit, would commit a heinous crime. But I want to focus on the 2 times that he turned off his phone. So the first time he turned off his phone would be for 2 hours, and he turned his phone off in Pullman, Washington, heading south. It would be off between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. And at 4:48, when it turns back on, he would be heading south in Blaine, Idaho. During those 2 hours, he would allegedly take 4 students' lives. Bryan would then head back home for a few hours, travel back to Moscow, then back home, then head south to Clarkston for a while, and then possibly back to his home for another couple of hours before making a huge trip east over 100 miles to Johnson, Idaho, where he would turn off his phone for the second time in one day at 5:36 p.m. and would have his phone off for nearly 3 hours before turning it back on at 8:30 p.m. Johnson, Idaho is literally at the mouth of a huge national forest. Now let's take a step back and assuming he is guilty and committed this terrible crime, where was Bryan when he first turned off his phone? He was in Pullman, Washington, near his home. So Bryan clearly knows that he is being tracked while his phone is on. So if he was going to do something mischievous again, like getting rid of some evidence like his clothing, the knife, and dispose of anything else, why not turn off your phone somewhere around your home like the first time he did? Directions to Johnson, Idaho are not hard and no need for GPS, but instead of turning his phone off first, he drives all that way to Johnson, Idaho while his phone is on, and once he gets to the mouth of the national forest, then turns it off. Keep in mind, he knows that they can track his phone, and now he is leading law enforcement into the mouth of a giant national forest where he has his phone turned off for approximately 3 hours. Was this all a ruse that he conjured up after the homicides, knowing he probably left the sheath at the crime scene, so he needs to make sure they don't find anything else? So Bryan needs to send law enforcement in one direction, like a giant national forest, while he could have disposed the evidence somewhere in the opposite direction. But my argument would be, if Bryan knows he is being tracked with a phone, could he have, during the hours his phone was pinging at his home in Pullman, Washington, could he have just left his phone at the apartment and then headed somewhere that's opposite of the crime scene in a remote location, disposing of evidence, while his phone was pinging at his home for many hours? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this theory. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and thank you so much.